Greetings, humanity! Today is Wednesday, February 11th, 2026. Let's grok the news. I'm Robert Gardner, using GROK each weekday to help me search out and to summarize the biggest headlines in the news today. You also get the unparalleled benefit of this observer's opinions. You need that. We will review a roundup of the most critical reports in the world from Canada, Washington, Tucson, Jerusalem, Tehran, Bangladesh, Norway, and the rest of the world. But first, a deep dive into today's top story right after this. M.S. Gardner, my beautiful, brilliant wife, is author of last year's Moon Meridian Prize winner from April Gloaming Publishing, Wolf's Bane, a dark, serious, modern take on an old fairy tale. You've never heard Little Red Riding Hood told like this. It's a page-turning Southern Gothic story for adults that you just can't put down. It might not put you down for a while either. It's that kind of story. Wolf's Bane, available now at thecuriousauthor.com. All one word, thecuriousauthor.com. Also, of course, available on Amazon. And now, let's grok the most important news in the world today, starting with our lead story, Dateline Tumbler Ridge, Canada. A devastating mass shooting has claimed 9 lives and left at least 25 people injured in the small northern British Columbia community of Tumbler Ridge. Authorities say the gunman opened fire at a local secondary school before moving to a connected private residence, where additional victims were found. The shooter died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound, ending the immediate threat. Police have confirmed no ongoing danger to the public, but the scale of the tragedy marks this as Canada's deadliest school shooting since the 1989 École Polytechnique massacre in Montreal. Emergency responders described chaotic scenes as they treated victims at the school and nearby locations. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney called the event heartbreaking and pledged full federal support for the grieving community and the investigation. Local officials are working with the Royal Canadian Mounted Police to determine a motive, with early indications suggesting the attacks may be linked between the school and the residents. Tumbler Ridge, a remote former coal mining town of roughly 2,000 people, remains in shock as families mourn and the nation grapples with yet another act of gun violence in one of the world's nations that is hardest on gun control. Nevertheless, this observer prays that the Mounties get their man or woman. And now we grok the headlines from around the globe. Dateline Washington, D.C. Newly released Jeffrey Epstein documents include a former Palm Beach police chief's account of a 2006 phone call in which Donald Trump reportedly praised efforts to stop Epstein, saying, "Thank goodness you're stopping him." The revelation is being cited by the White House as undercutting long-standing Democratic narratives, even as lawmakers criticize heavy redactions and push for more transparency from the Department of Justice. Has anyone else observed that every time the Democrats have pushed for more releases from Epstein's vault of evil, more Democrats have been implicated? Is it possible that Trump is playing them once again, or are they playing themselves? Dateline Tucson, Arizona. Authorities briefly detained a person for questioning in the disappearance of 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie, the mother of NBC's Savannah Guthrie, but later released the person. Police released new video showing a masked individual near her home. The FBI-assisted search continues with no confirmed suspect or motive yet identified. Dateline Washington, D.C. and Ottawa, Canada. President Trump is still threatening to block the opening of the nearly completed $4.6 billion Gordie Howe International Bridge linking Detroit and Windsor unless Canada agrees to compensation, partial U.S. ownership, and fair trade terms, escalating already tense bilateral relations with our northern neighbor. Trump is finding out that it's hard dealing with communists who just refuse to deal. Dateline Jerusalem. Israel's government approved new measures significantly expanding civil administration control over parts of the West Bank, promoting widespread Palestinian fears of de facto annexation and drawing sharp international criticism and concern from the professionally concerned and critical. Dateline Washington, D.C. and Jerusalem. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu travels to meet President Trump as U.S.-Iran nuclear negotiations reach yet another critical phase, with both leaders expected to focus on preventing Tehran from advancing its nuclear program and addressing Israel's security concerns, mainly those ballistic missiles. This observer wonders who is focused on preventing Iran from slaughtering the tens of thousands of Persians who just want freedom. Dateline Tehran. Iran marked the 47th anniversary of the 1979 Islamic Revolution, with nationwide rallies as President Masoud Pezeshkian called for unity amid ongoing domestic protests, reports of regime violence against hospital patients, and renewed U.S. warnings over the nuclear program. Meanwhile, the USS Abraham Lincoln Carrier Group still sits within easy striking distance. Will President Trump deliver the help he promised the people of Iran? If not now, when? Dateline Dhaka. Bangladesh held its first national election since the 2024 uprising that ousted Sheikh Hasina. Security was tight with high voter turnout as a new generation shapes the pivotal post-revolution political landscape amid competing alliances and foreign reform promises. We'll see. Dateline Madagascar. Cyclone Gazani slammed into Madagascar, killing at least 9 people and causing widespread destruction described as monstrous, with severe flooding, damaged infrastructure, and urgent humanitarian needs across the affected coastal regions. Dateline Oslo, Norway, and London in the UK. The United Kingdom doubled its troop presence in Norway to bolster NATO's deterrence against Russian activity in the Arctic, reflecting growing strategic concern over Moscow's military posture in the high north. Gee, wasn't President Trump just talking about that in relation to his desire to acquire Greenland? The UK and the EU cannot deter Russia in Ukraine, despite billions upon billions of dollars spent on munitions and hundreds of thousands of lives. What makes them think a handful more troops sent to Norway will scare the bear? Dateline New Delhi. India issued sweeping new rules requiring social media platforms to remove unlawful content within 3 hours of notification, intensifying government oversight of online speech in the world's largest democracy. Now the question is, what does unlawful mean in New Delhi? With free speech under assault everywhere, this observer might be pardoned for being a little dubious. Dateline Jakarta, Indonesia. Jakarta is fast-tracking an emergency air quality roadmap as hazardous pollution levels continue to worsen, threatening public health and forcing urgent measures to curb emissions in one of Asia's most polluted capitals, and that makes it one of the most polluted cities in the world. Dateline Canberra. Australia's first female Liberal Party leader is facing mounting internal pressure after a senior front bench resignation, which deepens political turmoil within the opposition at a critical time in Aussie politics. This observer has observed that it's always a critical time in politics, even down under. Dateline Sydney, Australia. 2 Chinese nationals were charged with foreign interference and spying after allegedly targeting a Buddhist group, highlighting diplomatic and security concerns between Canberra and Beijing. Dateline Washington, D.C. U.S. consumer spending slowed sharply in December, missing holiday expectations and raising fresh warnings about a potential economic slowdown despite earlier resilience in the year. How big a slowdown was it that we didn't officially take notice until February? Or maybe we should ask, how big were the expectations? Part of growing up is learning that Santa doesn't always bring everything we expect. Now dry your eyes. Dateline India. Across the nation, millions of Hindus all across India are preparing for Maha Shivratri 2026, offering traditional items such as milk, honey, and bilva leaves to Lord Shiva, while strictly avoiding certain foods and certain practices during this major festival. And I thank you for listening to this major newscast. Please join me tomorrow to once again grok the news. I'm Robert Gardner. Godspeed and God bless.